Chosen one, you outlasted all the misinformation. They said you wouldn't survive the inferno they built around your name. They were wrong. Every coordinated attack was designed to assassinate not your body, but something far more precious. Your truth. They failed. They all failed. While they spent their energy building monuments to deception, you stood immovable as cosmic law itself. The same force that keeps planets in orbit kept you anchored to reality, while they spun fairy tales about your destruction. Their weapons were words, but words built on quicksand. Their ammunition was accusation, but accusation without foundation. They mobilized armies of gossip, battalions of backstabbers, and entire divisions of character assassins. Yet here you stand, breathing, thriving, victorious. Ordinary lies would have sufficed if you were an ordinary threat, but they knew instinctively that you required industrial strength deception because you possessed industrial strength truth. The magnitude of their campaign testified to your authenticity before a single fact was verified. They prophesied your downfall, but prophecy belongs to those connected to source, and they severed that connection long ago. Real prophecy doesn't predict destruction of the righteous. It reveals the inevitable triumph of truth over manufactured reality. You embody that triumph. Every breath you take contradicts their narrative. Every success you achieve demolishes another pillar of their fictional architecture. The ancient patterns repeat themselves through cosmic law. When light threatens darkness, darkness mobilizes everything in its arsenal to snuff out that threat. But cosmic law also dictates that authentic light cannot be extinguished by artificial darkness. The fire they tried to put out was never yours to begin with. It was source energy flowing through your vessel. They might as well have tried to extinguish the sun with garden hoses. What you're about to discover will reshape your understanding of everything that happened. The attacks weren't personal vendettas or random cruelty. They were the desperate thrashing of a dying system that recognized you as a threat to its continued existence. But first, let me show you exactly how their machinery of deception operated. Behind closed doors and conversations you were never meant to hear, they convened their council of destruction. These weren't amateur gossipers sharing idle speculation over coffee. These were architects of illusion, engineers of false reality, master craftsmen of character assassination. They studied your moves like military strategists analyzing enemy territory. Your successes became their intelligence reports. Your departures became their raw material. When they couldn't control your trajectory, they decided to rewrite your story entirely. Picture board meetings where your name appeared on whiteboards next to strategy maps. Imagine email chains where your reputation was dissected like a biology experiment. They reverse engineered every decision you'd made, working backwards from your outcomes to create plausible alternative explanations that cast shadows over your integrity. The documents they created weren't forgeries in the traditional sense. They were truth twisted into unrecognizable shapes. A legitimate contract became evidence of questionable dealings. A strategic business decision became proof of hidden agendas. Your financial success became circumstantial evidence of criminal activity. They took the building blocks of your legitimate achievements and constructed houses of cards that looked solid from a distance. Here's what they never understood. Your spiritual gifts terrified them into action. Every time you demonstrated supernatural insight, every moment your intuition proved accurate, every instance where divine guidance led you to outcomes they couldn't achieve through manipulation. These became threats to their worldview. If you could access information and opportunities through spiritual channels, their entire system of control through information hoarding became obsolete. They deployed half-truths like smart bombs, each one designed to detonate maximum damage while leaving minimal fingerprints. The systematic nature of their campaign would have impressed military psychological operations specialists. They understood that timing was everything, striking when you were ascending, never when you were vulnerable enough to gain sympathy. Your victories became their raw material for creating suspicion. Got a promotion? Must have compromised someone. Landed a lucrative contract? Clearly involved questionable practices. Left a toxic environment? Obviously running from consequences. They weaponized the very success that proved your authentic power, turning your achievements into evidence against your character. Your excellence threatened their mediocrity, so they manufactured explanations that brought you back down to their level. The mob mentality that embraced their fabrications exposed deep-seated resentments against anyone who dared to transcend ordinary limitations. Your success forced others to confront uncomfortable questions about their own stagnation. They weaponized envy with surgical precision, understanding that success combined with spiritual gifts creates the perfect storm of public resentment. Your ability to achieve outcomes through divine connection rather than worldly manipulation threatened the entire foundation of their reality. If you could access abundance through righteousness, what excuse did they have for their poverty? Your accusers became puppet masters, pulling strings attached to every person who felt inadequate in comparison to your achievements. They didn't need to convince everyone you were guilty. They just needed to convince everyone that your success made them feel inferior. They struck during your moments of greatest breakthrough because those were the times when your light shone brightest. And bright light creates the deepest shadows for darkness to hide within. Every quantum leap in your development triggered their fear response, activating their defense mechanisms against obsolescence. What they never anticipated was your response to their campaigns. Instead of fighting their lies with defensive truth, you chose a path that would ultimately become their undoing. Your strategic exodus from contaminated environments wasn't retreat, it was reconnaissance. While they interpreted your departures as admissions of guilt or fear, you were actually following divine intelligence that recognized the coming conflagration. Like a general who abandons an indefensible position to regroup on higher ground, you withdrew from situations where truth couldn't flourish. Divine timing orchestrated your mysterious departures with precision that would later become evident. You left jobs just before scandals erupted that would have implicated anyone in proximity. You exited relationships before toxic patterns reached critical mass. You abandoned projects before they collapsed under the weight of deception. What appeared impulsive was actually prophetic. The wisdom of removing yourself before the cleansing fire began protected you from guilt by association and positioned you as a truth teller whose warnings went unheeded. Your absence became more powerful than your presence because it allowed reality to unfold without your intervention. The situations you left behind deteriorated exactly as you predicted, validating your discernment in ways that no defense could have achieved. When investigators eventually examined the wreckage of the environments you'd abandoned, your name appeared only in documentation showing your attempts to warn others and your timely departure when warnings were ignored. You became the canary in the coal mine whose survival proved the toxicity you'd detected. Your choice to hold truth in silence rather than defend lies with noise demonstrated mastery that your accusers couldn't comprehend. They expected protests, denials, explanations, the usual dance of defensive engagement that would have given their accusations credibility through acknowledgement. Instead, you offered them nothing to work with. Silence starved their narrative of the fuel it needed to spread. Lies require resistance to gain momentum. Accusations need defensive responses to appear legitimate. Character assassination campaigns depend on the target's emotional reactions to validate the attacker's claims. You provided none of these, chosen one. The synchronicities that brought you here weren't accidents. Neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the forces behind timeline manipulation take notice. They fear our collective power. The question isn't whether you belong among us. The question is, how much longer will you let the Matrix delay the awakening that divine grace has already guaranteed? The obsidian inner order is open. It has paywalls. Yes, those who stand with us give us ammunition to fight the Matrix manipulation systems. Paid members get free weekly group call, divine guidance, and quantum resistance training. But kicking a soul when they're down, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why you can access our Astral Atom newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. This is bi-directional. You can reply to any message we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll get an answer to you. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. Click the link in the description below. Now your authentic timeline begins here. The spiritual discipline of watching lies cannibalize themselves requires steel-forged faith in truth's inevitable emergence. Lesser souls would have cracked under the pressure of allowing falsehoods to circulate unchallenged. But you understood that premature defense often confirms guilt in the public mind, while patient silence allows time for contradiction and exposure. Your inner knowing that justice operates on cosmic timelines rather than human impatience sustained you through months of apparent defeat. While others demanded immediate responses and public rebuttals, you trusted in principles that govern the universe itself, that lies contain the seeds of their own destruction, and truth contains the power of its own resurrection. Isolation became your refinery, transforming base metal into gold while exposing the counterfeit nature of your accuser's character. Under pressure, authentic materials strengthen, while synthetic substitutes crumble. The same heat that forged your resilience revealed their brittleness. Your wilderness period generated alchemical changes invisible to external observation, but profound in their implications. Like carbon subjected to geological pressure emerging as diamond, your essential nature crystallized into something harder and more brilliant than before. The attacks that were meant to break you actually eliminated everything within you that could be broken. Meanwhile, your accusers grew more desperate as time passed. Without the vindication they expected from your destruction, their lies required increasingly elaborate maintenance as contradictory evidence accumulated. They found themselves trapped in stories that demanded more and more creative explanation to remain believable. Memory became their enemy, as witnesses recalled details that didn't align with their constructed timeline. The maintenance cost of elaborate lies eventually bankrupted their credibility reserves. Each exposed falsehood demanded more creative storytelling to maintain narrative coherence. Their stories began cannibalizing each other as different versions competed for believability. Witnesses who had been coached to support one narrative found themselves contradicting witnesses who had been prepared for different scenarios. The conspiracy collapsed under the weight of its own complexity. Meanwhile, your authentic truth remained consistent across all timelines because truth requires no maintenance, no updates, no coordination between multiple storytellers. The contrast between your unchanging truth and their evolving lies became so stark that even casual observers could detect the difference. But the real transformation was yet to come. The pressure cooker was merely preparation for the eruption that would reshape the entire landscape of truth and deception in your sphere of influence. The first crack in their narrative fortress appeared exactly where cosmic law predicted it would, at the point of greatest stress between truth and fabrication. Like structural engineers know that buildings fail at their weakest joints under pressure, lies collapse where they deviate most dramatically from reality. One exposed falsehood led to systematic questioning of all related claims. When investigators discovered deliberate deception in a single instance, they naturally wondered what else might be fabricated. The house of cards they'd constructed with such care began falling with gathering momentum, as each revealed lie undermined confidence in every remaining claim. Former believers became investigators, applying the same scrutiny to accepted narratives that they should have used initially. The transformation from defender to questioner happened rapidly once the first doubt took root. People who had spread their lies now felt deceived themselves and became motivated to uncover the full extent of manipulation they'd unknowingly participated in. Your emergence with documentation they didn't know existed delivered the final blow to their credibility. Records they thought destroyed or hidden surfaced at precisely the right moment to contradict their central claims. Witnesses they believed silenced found their voices. Evidence they assumed would never see light broke through darkness with the force of cosmic justice. While they focused their energy on manufacturing crimes to attribute to you, their own actual crimes lay exposed like landmines in a battlefield they'd forgotten they'd ceded. The investigative attention they'd drawn to your affairs inevitably illuminated their own questionable activities. Every accusation they'd made became a mirror, reflecting their own guilt. The karmic boomerang effect operated with mathematical precision. The energy they'd sent outward to destroy you returned, amplified and targeted at its source. Universal law doesn't negotiate or make exceptions. What you send out returns to you with interest, and they'd been accruing massive debt in the cosmic accounting system. Their coordination became evidence of conspiracy against you rather than legitimate investigation into your conduct. Communication records revealed premeditation and malicious intent. Financial trails showed payment for character assassination services. Digital footprints map the systematic nature of their campaign with courtroom-quality evidence. Public revelation of who was really pulling the strings behind the accusations exposed networks of corruption that extended far beyond their attacks on you. Your case became the key that unlocked understanding of broader systematic abuse of power and coordinated deception operations targeting multiple victims. Opportunities that had been blocked by false narratives suddenly opened like floodgates. The cosmic correction operated with mathematical precision. Every door that had been slammed shut through deception swung open with such force that your trajectory accelerated beyond where it would have been without interference. Your emergence triggered a cascade of opportunities that defied logical explanation. Decision makers who had never heard of you began seeking your involvement in projects that aligned perfectly with your gifts. Resources appeared from unexpected sources. The speed and scale of your restoration sent shockwaves through communities that had witnessed your character assassination. This wasn't gradual reputation repair. This was cosmic justice operating at full velocity to correct artificial interference with natural law. Your breakthrough came with such force that it left no doubt about the divine source of your protection. Former enemies publicly acknowledged their error in unprecedented displays of accountability rarely seen in human affairs. The same voices that had spread accusations now carried retractions and apologies. The platforms that had amplified lies about you became vehicles for spreading truth about your character and the deception that had targeted you. The spiritual community recognized the persecution pattern your experience exemplified, understanding that your individual case represented a broader, systematic targeting of those who threaten established power structures through their connection to divine truth. Your survival became evidence of cosmic protection extending to all who align with higher principles. Opportunities began flowing that were previously blocked by false narratives, as decision makers realized they'd been manipulated into avoiding association with you. Business partnerships, professional collaborations, and spiritual alliances that should have manifested years earlier suddenly materialized, as if making up for lost time. Your emergence from this crucible carried responsibilities that extended far beyond personal restoration. Your survival story became a roadmap for other targeted souls navigating similar spiritual warfare. The documentation of your journey through coordinated deception and ultimate triumph provided both hope and practical guidance for those facing comparable attacks. Your experience proved that surviving character assassination wasn't just possible, but could lead to greater strength and clarity. Fellow truth seekers drew strength from your resilience and used your example as evidence that cosmic justice operates reliably, even when human justice fails. Your emergence intact from systematic attempts at destruction demonstrated that authentic power cannot be manufactured or destroyed by artificial means. The recognition of your experience as part of a larger spiritual war helped others understand that their own targeting wasn't personal failure or random misfortune, but evidence of their own importance in cosmic conflicts between truth and deception. Your individual victory validated their resistance to similar attacks and encouraged their continued persistence. Other chosen ones recognized the familiar pattern of persecution you had endured and found validation for their own experiences in your testimony. The systematic nature of attacks on light workers became undeniable when multiple individuals reported identical tactics being used against them across different geographical locations and time periods. The realization that your individual victory represented universal principles activated hope throughout communities of spiritually aware individuals who had witnessed or experienced similar targeting. Your triumph proved that darkness cannot permanently overcome light, regardless of the sophistication of its methods or the extent of its resources. Your case exposed the systematic targeting of chosen ones and illuminated the coordinated nature of attacks on those who threaten established deception through their connection to truth. Patterns became visible that had previously appeared as isolated incidents, revealing an organized campaign against spiritual awakening that transcended individual vendettas. The spiritual community's recognition of coordinated dark operations led to the development of support networks for protecting targeted light workers. Your survival inspired the creation of systems for early warning, mutual protection, and rapid response to character assassination campaigns targeting spiritually gifted individuals. Networks emerged for sharing information about common tactics used against truth seekers, creating awareness that prevented others from falling victim to similar manipulation. Your experience became a teaching tool that educated communities about recognizing and responding to systematic deception campaigns. Your story became timeless testimony to truth's inevitable victory over coordinated lies, taking its place among archetypal narratives of light overcoming darkness that inspire resistance across cultures and centuries. The universal principles demonstrated through your experience transcend individual circumstances and applied to all conflicts between authentic and artificial power. The establishment of your authentic legacy beyond all lies created an unshakable foundation that no future deception could undermine. Your character had been tested by fire and proven genuine, establishing credibility that would endure long after your accusers were forgotten. Your ascension to a level where accusers can no longer reach represents the natural outcome of spiritual warfare. Truth rises while lies sink to their appropriate level. The separation between authentic and artificial becomes permanent once testing is complete and results are recorded in cosmic consciousness. The sacred responsibility that accompanies survival of systematic targeting includes serving as protector and guide for others facing similar trials. Your experience qualifies you as a specialist in spiritual warfare who can recognize attacks in their early stages and provide effective countermeasures. Every lie they told about you now serves as evidence of your importance in cosmic conflicts they didn't understand they were participating in. Their accusations documented the threat you represented to systems of deception that required your neutralization to continue operating. The intensity of their attacks proved the significance of your role in exposing their illegitimacy. Their campaigns validated your divine calling by demonstrating the resources darkness was willing to commit to stopping your progress. Ordinary individuals don't attract extraordinary opposition. The systematic nature of attacks against you proved your connection to principles that threaten the foundations of artificial authority structures. The supreme irony emerged as their efforts to destroy your reputation created the very legend they'd attempted to prevent. Their lies became the raw material for a story of triumph that will inspire resistance to deception for generations. They authored their own defeat through their attempts to author your destruction. Your name became synonymous with triumph over coordinated deception, standing as eternal proof that truth cannot be permanently suppressed, regardless of the sophistication of attacks against it. The documentation of your survival created a permanent record that darkness cannot revise or erase. Chosen ones across time and space draw strength from your example, finding in your story the evidence they need that resistance to deception is both possible and worthwhile. Your triumph transcends individual circumstances and becomes universal testimony to principles that operate reliably throughout cosmic history. The archetypal nature of your journey inspires future generations facing similar conflicts between authentic and artificial authority. Your experience joins the permanent record of light's victory over darkness that guides resistance movements throughout human consciousness. Your survival becomes prophecy for all who face similar trials, proving that cosmic protection extends to those who align with truth, regardless of the intensity of opposition they encounter. The precedent you've established guarantees similar outcomes for others who maintain similar alignment with divine principles. The eternal truth you embody cannot be altered by any future deception campaign because it has been tested and proven under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Your victory stands as permanent testimony that authentic power cannot be destroyed by artificial means. You outlasted all the misinformation because you are the information, the living truth they could never alter. No matter how many stories they told, your very existence is the final word in every lie they ever spoke. The phoenix has risen, the ashes of deception blow away in the wind of cosmic justice, and truth stands eternal, wearing your face, speaking with your voice, walking in your footsteps toward a future they can no longer corrupt. Welcome to your legend. Welcome to the eternal truth of who you've always been.